Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello, Billy Ho here. This is the DraftKings show for the 2023 Honda Classic. I'm joined today by David, the Hamburghini, aka the DFS chef, once again. And we're going to talk a little DraftKings pricing. We're going to toss in a little bit of Yahoo. Before we get started, the five things I've been asking for are: one, subscribe to the channel; two, hit the like button; three, check out my article; number four, join the DraftKings contest. I think we'll fill it this week. And five, the Discord link is out there. So jump on in the Discord and check it out. And so we're going to get started here in just a minute. I want to say hello to David. How are you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing good, ready to kick off the Florida swing. Hopefully we can hit the ground running and make some green.
I agree with you there. I kind of like just before we do jump into your stat model and all that. David's stat model is very cheap. He'll hook you up with it. Just give you access to it. He usually charges like $1 a week, or maybe 25 to $30, probably $30 for the season for right now. So you can DM him. His Twitter handle is right below there on the screen. So you can shoot him a DM, and he can set you up with that. And it's a lot of great info. I use it every week. So it's just an extra tool in your belt for $1 a week. You can't beat that. So anyway, we are going to jump into it right about now. All right, we are now looking at David's stat model. This is real quick before we get started on that. This is my article that I've been putting out for free every week. Coming together pretty good. I kind of like. I'm starting to add in a few things, like maybe a previous week recap on the Genesis, and then just kind of like a Honda Classic preview, a little bit about the course. Link to YouTube. If they've got a good flyover video, I'm going to post it here so you can look at every hole, and then just talk about some stats, some weather. I got some players down here, contenders and whatnot. So we'll get into that with David, and he's going to start us off. And just a couple of, if you watched my video the other day, I went over some key stats and whatnot of what I liked. And I just kind of want to hear just a brief what you're looking for this week, David, and kick us off 9K and up.
Yeah, I mean, each and every week we always talk strokes gained approach, and you'll see that that's the heaviest rank that I have on my stat model, strokes gained approach. And then it kind of just balances out across the board there. Strokes gained off the tee with a slight you know, rating on driving distance. Obviously I use Rick's website quite often and his regression model, and it showed the driving distance actually is ranked out higher than driving accuracy at this course. So I kind of go by what he shows on his regression model, and then I weigh those out with mine. A little bit of around the green and putting, but we get into the Florida swing, so we got some difficult scoring that's going to be taking effect over the next few weeks. So you'll notice that I have a good amount on bogey avoidance, scrambling, and also sand save percentage this week. And then it's not on my stat model, but I'll be going to PGAtour.com and looking at like birdie to bogey ratio as well.
Cool. Yeah,
And
they
then
actually, that PGA, before you go on the players, the PGA website is different now. They have a lot more stats and it's a lot more robust. I kind of like the way they got it laid out. It's got some really cool stuff in it. So check that out if you want to.
yeah, the only thing that I complain about now is and I know that Chris Durrell also, because my stat model is based off of like Chris Durrell's. When I first started doing stat models,
Right. Yeah.
I was using Chris Durrell's basically macro, and then changing it up. So the macro of this is still kind of like Chris Durrell's stat model, and I reached out to him, and he and I are in agreement that we can't stand the new
Oh,
PGAtour.com
really?
website update because we can't scrape stats anymore. Like
Yeah,
if I try
that's probably true. Yeah, I bet
if
it's
I
it's a lot different.
Exactly. So if I try and copy and paste, it's completely all jumbled and jargoned all over the place. So I got to try and find a new way of doing this. So
Right.
as of right now, the stats that I have and I'm still using are from the completion of the waste management. So I got to try and go out there and find some new way of scraping stats, and I might have to possibly reach out to PGAtour.com and maybe they can hook me up like they do Rick, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But jumping into the players here, obviously, like we mention each and every week, Rick's cheat sheet, because we have access. The first look ownership projection is really heavy on Sungjae.
Oh yeah.
So
38.
it definitely seems like most people are going to go Sungjae, especially for like a cash route. Um, and obviously, you can see he's ranking out number one in my model. Lowry is because we don't have stats. At least I don't have stats that I can load into the system as of yet. But Lowry is a guy that really loves the Florida swing. And what you'll notice is that almost all of these guys have missed the cut at this event. So, I mean, I do have course history in there, but it's really small weight. And I honestly think you don't even really need to look at course history that much, if at all, because like I mentioned, even guys that win and have done well here have missed the cut
Oh
at this
yeah.
event. It's a very hard event, and you can expect guys that are going to be highly priced missing the cut, as you see Denny McCarthy, who's missed the cut 3 times in the last 5 years here. So it's something that you really got to pay attention to. Lowry's one guy that, over the last 5 years, he's played 4 times and has not missed the cut. But that doesn't mean that the curse can bite him, and doesn't mean he can't miss the cut this coming week. He
He's
did look
due.
really good. Yeah, he did look really good last week after the terrible performance in Phoenix. And like I mentioned, he is a guy that loves Florida. Um, so for me, I honestly can even understand people completely fading out these two 10K guys and starting in the 9K range. Noren is someone that's being talked up. He's obviously missed the cut back-to-back times over the last couple of weeks, so that's a little concerning. Um, I think for me that I'm going to probably, and I noticed that Kenny has done this. If people have watched the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, as well as Steve Banford as well, I just watched his podcast, and he's more of a betting, kind of
Yes.
standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But if you noticed where they started, they're starting and they're really peppering the 8K range this week. Thomas Detry is the one guy in the 9K range that they're kind of talking up. The only thing that hurts him is that he doesn't have course history here. But again, I do think you can come in here as a debutant and do well. I'm not going to say he's going to contend to win. I don't think that is going to happen. I do think that you have had to have played this course at least once, if not twice, before you can really, come in there and have contention and winning. But he's a guy that is solid. He makes cuts. He drives the ball well. He's a good putter, and he's also good around the green. So I probably am going to go that same route and start most of my builds with Detry. And then, like I mentioned, some of the guys I'll kind of sprinkle in GPPs. If I have to go with him in cash, it's possible just because of the ownership percentage that we're seeing. Because in cash, you can probably figure he's going to be 60, if not 70% on.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and it's actually I made a note here about Sungjae, and this might be one of those weeks where it's are you going all in on him or no? And it's like 0 or 100 is what some people might think. I'm not one to do that. I'm going to have some Sungjae M just because he's one of my favorite golfers, and like you said, he missed his cut last year, so and I went back and looked, and he got off to a terrible start. He shot 74 the first day, and then he just wasn't able to get to the +2 cut line. He shot even par 70 the next day. So that can happen to anybody, anywhere. Just like you said, if you haven't missed a cut, you might be due, like Shane Lowry. I don't know, but Shane Lowry, if you remember the second place finish, I had to bring it up. Last year, he was in contention, I think a shot back of Sepp Straka, and torrential downpour hit on 18. And he just got totally screwed. And 18 is a birdie, it's the par five birdie hole. You hit it out in the fairway, and then you hit it up in the back, it's always more toward on Sundays, more toward the water, but you can take the high road and then two putt for a birdie, and he just couldn't. He missed the fairway and he had to lay up, and then he hit an iron in, and he had a 40, I don't know, it was an extremely long birdie putt for the tie, and he didn't make it. So it was really unfortunate for him because that was probably as close as he's been to a win since 2015 when he won St. Jude. And that was his only other PGA Tour win that I saw when I went looking. Which is kind of a concourse to hear, though, because it's a difficult course. It's Bermuda. It has tough putting greens and things of that nature. So that's kind of a neat little thing. Up here up top, like I said, you can play. Lowry did show up last week. I don't know that I'm going to get to Lowry exactly. I haven't decided on builds just yet. But if you did, you could start and do an M and Lowry stack and make that your two guys. And then because you can do that easily. And that might get you different enough in tournaments, depending on the size. Chris Kirk, that 9,900 price tag is high, in my opinion, for a guy that, like you said, can miss a cut. I mean, he's been playing some damn good golf. He had those back-to-back top five finishes at Sony and Amex, and then he missed the cut at Waste Management. He had a seventh place finish here last year. So he's got some good history, and he's been playing solid golf, but man, that's risky to hit 9,900. Like I told the guys at Yahoo, I started my lineup with Billy on Yahoo because he's like, it's pretty close to the top. He was $43 on Yahoo, but 9,700 here seems pretty good value to me for a guy, although he's not playing his best golf currently, but he's not a West Coast guy. He gets out there on the West Coast and just tries to grind out as best he can. Sometimes he has good finishes, sometimes he doesn't. And he just stays. I think he just tries to stay in form, as far as his ball striking and whatnot concerned. And then he gets over here to Florida and it gets his groove on. So I think he'll have a better round of improvement here. But I will have to look at his recent form off the tee because he's usually a very accurate guy and he's long enough. And that's usually where it goes. And we were talking about driving distance. There are certain holes where distance matter, but there are certain holes that have forced layups where water's in play and they have to hit irons. And if you're longer off the tee, you're stronger and bigger or whatever, you're going to be longer with your irons. So you can whack a 4-iron out there a lot better than somebody that's maybe a shorter hitter, or an older guy like a Brian Gay. Brian Gay is going to have to hit hybrids out here, and you could hit a 4 or 5-iron in the same place. So that position golf does matter. Minwoo Lee, I'm interested in. And before I get to him, Alex Noren, like you said, back-to-back cuts. I played him last week. I really thought he'd do well. He actually was not that bad, but he just he really struggled with his irons. He hit less than half his greens in regulation, so he was basically scrambling the whole week, and he still only missed the cut by a stroke. So if he can straighten out those irons a little bit, he'll be good here. Minwoo Lee is a little bit of an unknown debutant here, but the guy, we discussed him in the Discord a little bit, and the dude can ball. 3 out of 4 cuts in the majors last year, top 15 finish at the Masters. So the guy can ball. He's long off the tee. So like you said, you don't necessarily have to have experience, but I prefer it myself. It comes down to you're going to get a blueprint from your caddy. You're going to get local knowledge. You're going to do your own research. You're going to walk the course, and you're going to plot out your strategy and all that stuff during the week anyway. So fairways and greens are interesting, but there are quadrants and different parts on this green Shout out to this guy, GS Luke, who's on Twitter, and he has his own show. He's from the area and he's played the course, and his preview video is pretty good. He takes you through a hole by hole breakdown. So I kind of check that out. Then you get down in here to these guys. Denny, I think is going to be in play for me definitely because he's been just so much better all around golfer, tee to green, than those missed cuts back in the because he basically relied on the putter a lot of this time back here, but he is so much better. He's actually gaining strokes off the tee now, and his irons are so much better. I mean, he was outstanding at Genesis, a course that he used to not really have any business competing at. He was really balling out on. So I'm in agreement with Detry and kicking down into the 8Ks. It's I'm going to cover maybe just this top half, and then I'll kick it over to you here in a second, David. But Detry, Pendrith, this whole upper 8K realm is really looking solid to me. Sepp Straka being disrespected at 8,500, being last year's winner. I thought, usually you get the winner bump, especially since he made the previous two cuts. So he's got a course history bump. He just hasn't played a lot this year. He made the cut at Genesis. He seems to like this course, so I might have some interest in him. Johnny Vegas is always looking good. They got a Twitter video of him making a hole in one here. He's got 4 straight made cuts here. He's looking solid. Svensson, another short guy who I'm curious about. Maybe he's added some distance since he got his first PGA Tour win in the fall, RSM. So he's a guy that I love to play because he's accurate off the tee and he's great with his irons. And sometime last summer, he found his putter and he made like 11 or 12 out of 13 cuts over the spring and summer leading up to that RSM win. So the guy can show some flat out consistency. So maybe he's hitting his stride at Genesis and we're just seeing the beginning of it. Hopefully that's the case because like I said, I like him. There's a guy I think may go low key, and that's JT Poston because people have been kind of high on him the last couple of weeks, and he's obviously missed the cut. So maybe people will be off of JT Poston. And this is the kind of course where he can thrive at. He's fairly accurate enough off the tee, and it's just whether he's hot and cold with the irons. He missed his cut in 2021, so I feel all right with that because the other ones are top 30s. Although at 8,800, you're going to need a little bit better than T35. So he's a guy that I'll look into. This is just the top half of the 8Ks. So who do you like in the top half of the 8Ks here, Dave?
I think it's pretty much the same guys that you mentioned, and it seems to be the same guys that everyone in the industry is mentioning. And, it's Pendrith, it's Svensson, it's Vegas. Straka definitely, I mean, he's got a huge price increase from last week from Genesis. He was like 68 or 69 last week. So he got quite a good price bump. I hear English's name being kind of thrown around a little bit, and he looked good last week, but at 8,400, I think he's a little overpriced. I think he should still be down in the sevens,
Yeah.
But it's something that I might, take a couple, stabs at here and there. Even though he's grading out better in my stat model than Bezuidenhout, this is kind of an event where Bezuidenhout usually excels. Even though we've seen Bezuidenhout go low before, this is kind of what you expect out of Bezuidenhout, a guy that doesn't make that many bogeys, can just grind out par, these tough kind of courses. He had that T25 last year. So this is, I think, kind of the course that fits Bezuidenhout's game. But all those guys that you just mentioned, Cam Davis has had success here, but he just looks bad right now. And again, 8,100 to me seems like he's overpriced this week. He should be down several $100s. So I can't see myself getting to Cam Davis. And as I say that, watch him break out this week.
Yeah. He's going to break out sometime sooner or later. So I'm with you there. Yeah, Cam Davis is a guy I love to play too.
I thought it was going to be last week. I mean, I mentioned him last week, even though I think I only played him maybe in one lineup last week, and but I mean I did mention him on the video last week that Genesis kind of favors those Aussies, and we saw that in day. Adam Scott started off okay and then fell off a cliff, and then
Yeah.
Cam Davis just never had it. But as we go down to the 7K range, guys that I'm looking at as of right now, I mean Ben Griffin took off a few weeks. The last time we saw him, it was a missed cut, but that had to have been expected. The miscut was coming
Oh yeah.
for Ben Griffin, just like we knew a miscut was going to be coming for Taylor Montgomery. But I think that you can just jump right back on Ben Griffin if you wanted to. Robbie Shelton is someone I'll look at. Jaeger Shots is someone I think that you can possibly look at. And obviously, I'm sure you've heard it. I know I've heard it. Lee Hodges, his name is flying around the industry right now. So, Lee Hodges is going to be someone I'm looking at. Benny On. I think this is a good course for Benny On, even though the last time he did play here, he missed the cut by one stroke. But I don't mind Benny On this week. Will Gordon, I think, is someone that you can possibly jump back on, but I don't know how much I'm going to go to him because I think there are guys that are priced cheaper that I think might be safer. And one of those guys to me, and I know Bamford had him as his last play this week, and that was S.H. Kim, who has, other than the miscut at Amex, has been rattling off a lot of, made cuts. So I think S.H. Kim, I think I'm going to favor over Will Gordon this week. But a lot of those names that are flying around the industry are probably going to be guys I'm looking at. And like I mentioned, English to me being overpriced, and that's why I don't know how much I'm going to get of him, even though English is showing more flashes of his game coming back than Webb has. I think I'd rather take a couple shots on Webb now that we're back here on the East Coast, courses that he favors. Florida is the start of kind of where we're at. And then when we get to, like Sea Island and, Wyndham and all that kind of stuff, those are his jam. But I think that now that we're in Florida and he's still priced cheap, I might take several shots at Webb this week.
That's interesting. I did look at it, and it's hard to say. I'll have to take maybe a deeper dive into him to see what he's been, because it's a lot of it has been his putter is why he can't make cuts anymore. It's not really like he lost his game or anything, because his ball striking's still been okay, but he just bleeds strokes on the green, and if he doesn't, make especially cuts like Pebble, cuts like places where you got to make birdies, and get under par. And and it was somewhat encouraging to see him make the cut at Waste Management, which is not a birdie fest by any means, but you got to make some birdies to get across the line there. So I'm with you there. But what was it? Oh, you mentioned Bez up here. I got a skill set stack that I'm going to do of guys like Bez that are scramblers and guys around the green. So getting into the 7K area here, I'm with you on Ben Griffin though. That one missed cut doesn't bother me a bit. The guy's good across the board, so accurate off the tee. Shelton is a par three kind of guy. He's got an 11th place here, so I like that. Jaeger is another one with the around the green game, so he's going to be in that stack along with Bez and Aaron Rye. Those three guys, I think, are all. Aaron Rye is very accurate off the tee, good around the greens. So I'm going to give him a look. He's got some pretty decent recent form coming in. I'm a little higher on recent form than course history, but like you said, course history is still warranted, as in seeing the course and putting on these greens mainly, because putting from 15 feet and in order to like say from 4 to 8 feet to make pars, and then from 8 to 15 feet to make those birdies. So I do like that. And Tambo had brought something up in their Degenerates Golf podcast. Is this is not the course you want to go to get right. So that's why I'm looking at recent form. So if your recent form's off, I probably won't be looking too hard at you. Love the Benny On call, though. I'm with you with that. Benny On's getting his game back together. He's another one that is a whiz around the greens. He's got plenty of experience on this course, a couple of top fives. Missed his cut in 2021, so I'm digging him. I always love playing Hayden Buckley, another guy long off the tee. He's seen the course a couple of times, but being a youngster, he hasn't quite crossed that line just yet. I'm guessing that 69 was an MDF, maybe. But other guys like Hardy, Bramlett's been getting a lot of chatter. He's a guy that's long off the tee, and he's a guy that's in great form. He always kills himself on the greens, but he's been putting very well lately. So I'm digging him some. SH Kim seems to be a good pick. This cracked me up when I saw this. Podrick Harrington. I went over here, and this is just Rick Run Good's first run, but he's got him at 16% ownership, and that cannot be right. But I just thought that was kind of funny. What I'll do with Rick's ownership, I pay a little bit of attention to it right away, but he really gets it dialed in on Wednesdays. So I'll come back and look at this, and he's very accurate. The guy by the name of Degenerate75 on Twitter puts out a sort of like a rankings of ownership every week. He does Rick Run Goods. He does Stochastic. Pretty much any big name in the industry that has ownership, he ranks them as how close they are percentage wise. And Rick ranks out very well. So top 3 probably in the industry. So I trust him pretty well. Let's see, moving down a little bit more. I was thinking of somebody. Danny Willett was another one that fits my around the green grinder guy that can play in the wind. And we didn't discuss weather, but it is looking like wind always plays a factor because it's pretty close to the coast, and it's pretty wide open area. So there's not trees to be able to knock wind down or nothing like that. But it's probably going to be 10 to 15 mile an hour in the afternoons. It looks like it's mainly PM. So it's going to filter in. Maybe there might be wave stacks involved, but I don't think so because it's afternoon wave each day. But gusts can get up over 20, and that's when your ball lands in the water. So guys like Willett and guys like we mentioned Bez and Yeager and Rye and all those guys can definitely get you across the cut line. And this is not a big Birdie Fest DK scoring week, and the competition's weaker. So just getting across the cut line a lot of times will get you there. So 5 of 6s, 6 of 6s are going to be good as long as you got maybe 1 or 2 guys in the top 5. But moving on down, I don't know if there was too many people. I had some guys marked here toward the end. Grayson Sig was a guy that I was going to give a deeper look at. He's missed a couple of cuts lately, but I think this is more his speed. He's pretty good around the greens. The guy at flat 7, though, that I was kind of surprised at his pricing, that's what I wanted to check, was Mark Hubbard. If 5%, that's shocking to me. That a guy like him who's known in the industry, I know he's missed a couple of cuts in a row, but he's got 3 straight made cuts here. Maybe he's due for his missed cut. I don't know. But I'll have to check a little deeper on his recent form. But he's a guy that's just kind of solid across the board, tee to green wise. And as long as he plays in tournaments with much stiffer competition. So you dial back the competition, and then he's going to be in the plus column in all these categories. And he's accurate enough off the tee. He is a little bit a distance challenged, but he's a guy that I'll have some interest in. So give me some sub 7K guys, Dave, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention a couple more that I didn't mention earlier.
Sure.
And Adam Shank is someone that I'll probably be looking at 7,200 this week, and then at 7K flat, possibly, Aaron Badley is someone I might be looking at. And then I know a guy that actually grades out well on Florida courses. He's a mixed bag here. Missed the cut last week, but Dylan Fratelli might be someone that I might consider this week. And then as we dip down sub 7, several weeks ago I mentioned him, and last week I mentioned him, is Kevin Tway, and he made the cut once again. His price has increased. He's made 5 out of the last 6 cuts that he's played, and the one cut that he missed by 1 stroke at Pebble. But I don't know if this is the course for him, as you can see from his course history here.
Yeah.
He has seemed to have found something in his game once again, like some of these older guys on tour, like Day and Rose and Fowler. Tway's in that same kind of category as those guys, not as good of golfers as those guys, but once again, he seems to maybe have found something in the game. But I don't know if this is a week that I'm going to throw him in, especially with his increased price. To me, this seems more of a course that would fit like a guy like Eric Cole this week. And I think I would favor Eric Cole over Kevin Tway this week. Then as we continue to go down, he's grading out rather well. I mean, he's definitely a dart, but he does. This is another course that, when you talk accuracy off the tee, finding fairways, finding greens, at least he was a guy that used to do this all the time. And then his game has kind of gone down the crapper some, but Ryan Moore is someone that fits that mold. He's definitely, like I said, a dart throw. I saw that you had highlighted Satoshi Kodaira.
Yeah, I was guessing.
He's also someone that kind of fits that mold. I think those two guys are kind of a coin flip between one another. This week, I don't see as many sub 7K plays as I liked the previous weeks. So I definitely, it's going to be hard for me to get down to this range. There's going to be guys that are making the cut that are priced sub 7. Novak is someone that at least has some good upside in him, and he has seen this course, a made cut, a miscut. So, I mean, Novak is also a guy that I think you can, kind of take a stab at. A guy that I looked at, he's on my player pool. Again, my player pool is just kind of a first look, and I'm going to start really looking into it. But Tano Goya has at least made 3 straight cuts. He hasn't played this course, but it's a guy that I had written down as someone that is in consideration for me right now. And then the other guy, there was some chatter going on in another chat that I follow, and they were asking about like 6,200 and less guys. And when we get down to that, I mean, it's just like, oh my goodness, because you have Rory Sabatini, who has, of course, history here, but when you look at his recent form is absolutely terrible. And then Brian Gay is the other guy with the course history here, and I don't know about it. And I mentioned a guy at 6,200 that at least he's made 3 straight cuts. He hasn't played here, but at least he's riding, 3 straight cuts made, and that was Trevor Werbelow at 6,200. Yeah. But it's definitely scary this week, at least in my opinion, at guys that are priced sub 7K. I'm waiting for the email to see what the qualifiers are going to be priced at, because the one guy that might interest me as the qualifier, and I know everyone was talking Parker Cootie because his brother is already in this, but the guy that's interesting me is Brett Druitt. At least he played here last year and had the 55th place finish, and he made he qualified yesterday. So I'm interested to see what his price is going to be.
Yeah, I had to tweet it out. Cooties, I just cracks me up. They're twins too, Parker and Pearson Cootie. Yeah, Pearson was already in the field. He must be like the better brother. I don't know, but Parker did qualify. He did get in. So I posted a funny kind of thing on Twitter about Cooties. But so don't play anybody that's paired with either one of them because they got Cooties. So you're gonna throw your money away there. But it's funny, I actually looked at Satoshi Kodaira at 6,700. I said, we haven't seen this guy, and I'm not really sure what was wrong with his game, but he did make his last 2 cuts. Where's he at? There he is. So he did 29th at Pebble and 53 at Farmers. And that's not bad. Making the cut at Farmers for him is pretty good because Farmers is a long ass course for a short knocker. So he's a guy he's position golf. He won RBC Heritage several years ago. So not a bad idea to look at that. But like you said, these guys are a coin flip at best. And if you flip it 3 times and land once, so you're talking 33% chance on some of these guys to make the cut, not 50-50. But there's guys down here, like you mentioned, Dylan Wu, a dude that made the cut last year that's kind of an up-and-comer. People talked, I think Tyler Duncan, Tambellini mentioned him, but he's been garbage. You'd think his accuracy off the tee and whatnot, but he's putting challenged. So one guy I did notice, and I don't know if I'll ride him or not because his recent form has been bad, is Brian Stewart. He just seems like one of those guys that pop up every year. You got your Brian Stewarts and your Chris Strouds and your guys, Brian Gays, that all the short hitters that like to play these courses every year. So Stewart might get a look. Silverman was another guy, Ben Silverman, and I was trying to put something together with like par 3 birdie or better, just for like the bear trap, because there's 2 out of 3 of them are par 3s, and Ben Silverman I think landed on that list along with Aaron Badley, and a couple other guys that. So the par 3 scoring in general is kind of bumped up a little bit with there only being 2 par 5s. So winding it down here. I think that's more than enough, guys. And like I said, when we do this show, we're not giving you picks. We're just laying out guys because there's 144 players. So if we can narrow your field down to 50 or 60 guys, then, and you don't have to look at them all, but, you can confirm what we're seeing and then play them for yourself. So for David, this is Billy Ho saying thanks for watching, and we appreciate you. And until the next time, we will see you soon. Thanks for watching.